All right. So we can continue, and
Can I say something?
More people are back.
Can I say something about renunciation?
Yes, please do. Everybody who wants to say something, they can please say so.
I thought a little bit about it in the break. It feels more like a result and not something that we do. It's like when we wake up in the morning, then we renounce the sleep state. When we get into the car and arrive somewhere, when we arrive at the destination, then we renounce the car. So I thought about, like, it's not this idea that we have, like from the Bible, that God told Abraham, you should leave your country, your homeland, and just go somewhere. It's more like if we are at home and someone tell us, come to swim in the beach. It's not like we say, oh no, I don't want to, I renounce it. It's going to the beach, seeing that there is maybe a black flag or there's high waves, and we think it's very dangerous. So renunciation already happens in our mind. It's not a process, but it's the result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. I do agree with you. It is a result, but so the process comes from, from understanding that we are in a dangerous ocean here. Yeah, at the moment, the ocean seems to be very nice and very good, but we don't know. We forget that there can be waves and there can be sharks and there can be storms. And this is why instead of going to the beach, which is liberation and enlightenment, we stay and we say, oh, it's quite nice. I think we are not really, we hear that we're very attached to samsara and all this, but that realization, I think, has not come. Definitely not for me. I'm not disgusted enough of samsara. Yeah. And again, when we hear having to be disgusted, then we think we have to walk around and we can't enjoy anything anymore. And we can, we have to be sad and crying and depressed. But no, that doesn't mean wanting to get out of samsara. Just wanting to go to a better place, which is it's a natural inclination of the mind, isn't it? Wanting to go. This is maybe why also we make so much progress, is because we know we could have it better, but the progress we're making it in the wrong place. I mean, if you look how the world has developed in these, I don't know, just 50 years or 70 years. I'm 70 years old, 71. So, I mean, it's amazing. And even now, it's just, I can't imagine how we could have functioned without a mobile phone or something like that, but we did. And we did meet and we did talk and we had a good time, and all this is like, yeah, but could you imagine now like a world without mobile phone?
Very much.
Huh?
Very much.
Very much. But not, well, yeah, but would we be able to go back to it? I mean, how would we make appointments? How could we remember the phone calls, the phone numbers of people,
I remember 30 telephone numbers by heart. I think we were more used to renunciation when we didn't have the phone call, when we didn't have the cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Because you had to do without knowing, to do without having what you want on the spot. And one more thing about the renunciation, which Orit made reinforce a point I thought about, is that everything is moving all the time, and we are trying to stay stabilized, still on these movements, and not changing and grasping to something is make you feel like more stable and more assured because you know what you have. Also, it's an illusion.
Totally.
And renunciation is it's the way to move with things. Like everything is moving, and we are also, and it makes you also not be not to grasp to your habits and to be on the moment, every moment, because you have to do with what is now and not with what you used to.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we have this habit of fixating, especially when we like something, and this is why we suffer. You know, I mean, the sad thing about the whole thing is that we could be totally happy. We wouldn't have any suffering. And that this the suffering that we have is based on a misconception. This is the crazy thing, isn't it? It's not based on some prime minister or virus or not having the right car or not having the right partner, the right children or whatever. It's based on a misconception of, as you just mentioned, Anna, on not seeing that there's nothing we can hold on to, that everything is impermanent, everything is flowing, and we can create some kind of illusion of, having some lasting happiness by putting a lot of pleasant experiences very close to each other. But then it fades, and it's not happiness anyway, always having to do something. So that was the Buddha was saying. The suffering that we have is not necessary. And we can only change it in our own mind. We cannot change it outside. So that's the amazing thing about Buddhism, I think. Yes, Edouard.
Yes, I would like to link between what Orit, you of course, and Nat said, to what we started with, awareness at the beginning.
Yeah.
And maybe just 1 minute to tell a story, an experiment that was done years ago. Joshua Bell is one of the most famous violinists of the times. And he holds a Stradivarius violin that costs, I don't know, $1, $2, $3 million. And he agreed to go for an experiment in which he played in one of the central metro stations in Boston for hours. Thousands of people passed through him, and he had a little basket, to ask for donations. In total, in 5 or 6 hours, I think he made $30. You see the number of people passing by him and not stopping. Now, among these thousands of people, you certainly have quite a number of them that enjoy classical music.
Right.
That would pay a very high price to see him, playing in the concert hall. They just ignored him. They were shut down. Now, by shutting ourselves down, in order to kind of have this illusion that we protect ourselves from this beggar,
right,
we lose a lot of happiness.
Right.
Hearing Joshua Bell, without knowing he's Joshua Bell, but hearing this guy who plays Bach wonderfully, almost for free, give him $1 in the metro station,
Yeah, or nothing, you can just listen.
Or just listen. And that's an extreme example, but we do that all the time.
So we come to that now because we're going to talk about equanimity. It's like the way we see other people is kind of putting, we put a label on them, and then that label already has, Joshua and all this. So it's already, oh, wow. And, the same thing happened to me. Once I was in Tel Aviv in supermarket, and I was looking for shower gel because I don't need shampoo, all right, because I don't have hair. But it was all written in Hebrew. So then I think I asked somebody, and he came a bit grumpily, like one of the customers, and said, well, what do you want? And I said, well, can you tell me which is shampoo and which is shower gel? And then he looks at me and he said, well, anyway, what are you doing here? So I said, well, they invite me, and then I give some maybe seminars and talks and all this. He said, who are you? So I said, I'm Anirita. And he totally changed. I was still the same person. But he said, what? you are Anirita. I always wanted to meet you. People have been telling me about you. And wow, would you come to my house? I give you dinner, blah, blah, blah. This, I thought, like, it's amazing. It's like, I'm still the same person. And we're doing that as well. You put this, you think somebody is somebody, or in this case, somebody is nobody, and that person becomes a nobody. So the somebody or nobody, it comes from here. It doesn't come from there. But we are convinced that it comes from outside, right? Or at one point, also in Dharamsala, we were sitting in the teachings of His Holiness, and Richard Gere stepped on my leg. We were already sitting, and he usually came a bit late. Do you still know Richard Gere? My people my age, they know him better maybe than the young ones. So he stepped on my knee, and I was so happy. It's the thing, imagine Richard Gere stepped on my knee. It's like, if it would have been somebody I dislike, I would have said, hey, something like that. So there we go. And this is what we have to understand, that it's not out there. It really just comes from our own mind. So yeah, this with the violin player, this is a very good, it's a very good example. And I think they made more kind of, experiments or whatever like this. Like, for example, Bernie Glassman, he's asking his students, he's not alive anymore, but it's a Zen teacher from America. Maybe you know him. Yeah, he used to do meditation retreats in Auschwitz. And so he's asking his students to go and live as a homeless person for one weekend. Not being allowed to say, but, I'm just doing this as an experiment. They had to find out themselves, where can they sleep, where can they not sleep, where to get the cardboard to at least cover the sidewalk, and where to get some soup, and where to bring the bottles that are empty so you get a few pennies, like that. So that really changed their mind about beggars and about what it means. Yeah. Right. Okay, so we continue with the Bodhichtta. So after having renounced samsara, kind of, after, ourselves really wanting to get out of it, then we become aware of, like the first method, what we did yesterday, that all beings have been our mother. So then in the second method here, which is from Shantideva, it is more, all beings at one point have been kind to us. So this goes a bit more into the direction what Raz was saying yesterday, when you said, why can't I just think about my neighbor and about this? Yeah. So I don't know why Asanga chose the mother, why Shantideva just thought about, just that all beings have been kind to us. And then to create equanimity, meaning not, again, when we hear, meaning not having friends and not having enemies and not having strangers, but to kind of to even that out. So when we sometimes, especially at the beginning, again, when we hear not having friends, that means people hear that we shouldn't be friendly to others. We should be very friendly to all others, the same as they would be our friends. But our friends, there is a lot of attachment there that we don't feel. So in worldly terms, when is a friend a friend? You can either put it in the chat or you can say, who do you call your friend? Not the names, okay? But why do you call somebody, sometimes you introduce somebody and you say, this is my friend, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Why do you call this person your friend?
Can I say?
Yes.
Because I like them, and this is something, and because I trust them, and because I know, like, if I will be in need, they probably will help me. But then there are all different kind of friends. There are friends.
I like the probably. That's very good. That you have this attitude. If I need help, probably they will help me. These friends will stay your friends for your whole life. If you have this feeling for sure they will help me, they will maybe not stay friends. Sorry, I cut you. So
no, you're right, because I have many friends and some of them I'm not sure they will help me. So I guess there are different kinds of friends.
Yeah, with everybody, we should have this attitude. Probably, maybe they will help me. Because then when they help you, you're very happy. If you are convinced that they will help you, and we're not doing this in the brain, unfortunately, we just have this attitude. Here, she's my friend, they will help me. Then when they go, oh no, tonight is the last night of this and this movie, I really need to go and see it, then we will be disappointed when they say something like this because I need them. Wait, I put the cooking on the thing. I think I turned it off. Oh. It's the nice thing about living in a studio. You smell when it gets too much cooked, and you don't have to go very far to turn it off. Okay, so anybody else? When do we call somebody a friend?
Someone I know I can disagree with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, without breaking the relationship, with staying with with love and friendship.
Mm-hmm. And you know that with all the people that you call your friend, you're sure that you could do that?
No, not all of them.
Okay, good.
I like
actually very, very few.
Okay, yeah.
I like the way you said something I like, but I can disagree with me. He can disagree because usually I used to thought that a friend is somebody who is similar to me, but now I prefer somebody who is not similar to me. It is somehow more challenging for me.
But you see also what Edouard says, somebody that I can disagree with. Have you tried it out? Do we know it? Because again, with our friends, the people we call friends, very often we assume and we have expectations, and we don't see the expectations. We only see them when they're not getting met. And I think especially at the moment with this, vaccination, not vaccination, I mean, wow, even very good friendships kind of break over this because, of course, if you are vaccinated, then you think that's the most intelligent thing to do. If you're not vaccinated, they also think that's the most intelligent thing to do. And then you start to disagree. And wow, it's like it becomes really, really violent in some cases. Not in my case, because I am vaccinated. If somebody doesn't want to get vaccinated, it's their business. It's not mine. So that's it. So, but again, we talk about this in order to bring up our wrong views of how we view our friends sometimes, or to see our expectations we have towards them, which we don't see usually. And then we will never get disappointed. Who else is a friend? Or what else do you call a friend?
For me, it's someone that I can stay silent with him.
Okay, nice. Oh, that's nice. Only those, or it's just one aspect? Just one aspect.
No, that's one aspect that others didn't say.
Okay. Yeah, you can just add or say the same things. It's okay, you can say the same things if you would like to.
A friend, the thing is somebody that can take what you do, tell you exactly how he's feeling, and you not getting angry, you love him, doesn't matter what.
Okay.
Yeah, because for experience, not many you can find.
I know many of those. Somebody that will constantly tell you what you're doing wrong, and you still be.
Not only wrong. that everything will be together, also
Yeah.
wrong and also good, and
Okay, Israel, but who would make the decision now it's enough? You or the other one?
I don't know.
I don't. You know what I'm a little bit missing here? What you're saying.
Okay.
The Bodhisattva practices when a spiritual friend is relied upon, one's thoughts are. Wait. Oh, it comes with the Dharma. So from the 37 Bodhisattva practices, when a spiritual friend is relied upon, one's thoughts are exhausted and one's qualities increase. Yeah. Okay, so this is that's from the Dharma side. That's very good.
When you
know what I am missing here is that you would say, for me, a friend is somebody that if he needs help, I will always go. That's what I'm missing. Did you notice that everything just comes from that side and not much coming from that side?
But this is because you ask about the other person. You are completely right. A friend is somebody who will always help when they are in need.
Mm-hmm. That in spiritual terms, this is what one, for a bodhisattva, this is what is called a friend. Somebody that I have friendly feelings towards, no matter what the person is doing. That is why we can actually, everybody is my friend. But it's not just helping. It's not just helping. It's having friendly feelings, friendly attitude towards the person. In spiritual terms. In worldly terms, in general, it comes from this side. So you see what happens to me sometimes. People introduce me and they say, this is Losang or this is Anirita, my friend. And then I go, oh, I didn't know. You see, when you are calling somebody a friend, you have expectations. And this friend, maybe, this so-called friend, doesn't know that you see him as your worldly friend, meaning that you will help or you will be kind or you will be friendly or whatever. And this is where a lot of problems between kind of attached love, attached friendships come, because it kind of seems to go only one way. Like we have a lot of expectations towards others, what they should do. We think we don't have them, but we do have them. I think there we really have to be honest. When somebody is treating you in a very unfriendly way, you will stop calling him your friend very quickly. And so, so if I don't know that this person sees me as their friend, I might be disappointing them. And it has happened to me that somebody was outraged at that I didn't help her at one point. And she kind of said, but you are my friend. And I didn't know because I didn't like that person so much, to be honest. Yeah, it's not funny, but this is it. And because she accused me of not helping her, I'll tell you the whole story. It was really interesting. She called me in, it was somewhere, during the teachings of the Dalai Lama, and she thought I would help her. I saw somebody that I really needed to see because they were going to India and I needed to give them something, in like 10,000 people. When you see that person and you don't know where the person sits, you're very happy and you're not interested in other people. And I rushed off, right? And maybe 2 months later, I get a phone call from her and she says, oh, do you remember then and then you left me? She had a broken leg, but she had somebody with her, and crutches, and she didn't need my help. So it's like, she said, and you didn't help me. And I was really disappointed because you are my friend, blah, blah, blah. So, and I got angry and I felt the anger. I was on the telephone because she caught me totally off guard. And it was many, many years ago. Now it wouldn't happen anymore. And I got angry and I shouted at her and say, well, because she said, I was angry at you, but now I forgave you. So I said, why do you need to tell me then? Why do I need to know? It's like, what is this? What are you doing? And but I talked not out of reasoning and with a wise and compassionate mind. I was angry. I was angry at being attacked about something that I didn't see any mistake that I had made. Okay. Then I put down the telephone and then I felt bad. Only then, before about not helping her with the broken leg and to go into the hole, this was okay because she had help, but that I had shouted at her. This also, I felt bad. I didn't know what to do because it's difficult to apologize for me, maybe for other people also, because you put yourself under the power of that person. If you say, look, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have done that. And I know I hurt your feelings and this and that. So I felt quite embarrassed, but finally I did take the phone after a few days walking around with an ungood feeling in my heart. I finally took the phone and I called her and I said, actually, because I was finally had made the point to be able to apologize and not really knowing what to say, but being ready to say something. And she, from her own side, I think she also saw that she had made a mistake or something, or that it wasn't right what she was doing. So she said, I'm so happy that you called. So just this hearing, I'm so happy that you called, by me also kind of the whole thing kind of fell apart. I didn't even talk about the incident anymore, but I knew that I owed her something. So I said, because she always wanted to go and have lunch with me. So I said, why don't you come to this and this town where I was staying? And I invite you for lunch. You can choose the restaurant. She chose probably one of the most expensive restaurants. I mean, she even said, because I couldn't afford to go there. And she said, can I bring my daughter? And I thought, yes, you can. So, but then I thought also that's good. It's good enough. You see, also in order not to get exploited and people taking advantage of your kindness, you can also think, okay, I did that. That was wrong. I need to repay that, and I do this. She can, and then it's okay. Yeah. So then we can continue kind of in an even way again. But with so-called friends, friends that are really best friends and all this, gosh, it can become so complicated. Yeah. So maybe next time, you think that somebody is your friend. Maybe ask them, is it okay that you are my friend? So then at least we know, and we know that they know. Okay, who is an enemy? Now, again, in more worldly terms, not what the Dharma says. Or, from instinctively, whom do we call somebody, or who is somebody, what does somebody do that we dislike? Do you have people that you dislike? That you know personally? Okay, don't go with prime ministers and all this because you don't know them.
I want to say it's related to what you said. It's very, very similar, but for me, people really that accuse or very angry without a basis. When someone tells you did that and it was like, I felt like I was hurted or something, but being disappointed for me without knowing or angry, like it's like a bomb falling, and it's really, really hard for me. And I really would like to develop myself in this point, how to deal with this anger without a basis in a way, or a basis that I can recognize. As your story, it's very similar.
Yeah, right. So, well, I don't know, what I did is like, I felt bad after having shouted at her because I didn't swallow it. I didn't swallow the, she treated me in an unjust way, kind of. I really also wanted her to suffer. And then after I hanging up the telephone, I felt bad. And I saw that I had to repay something. I had to do something to kind of make it even again. But also what I do now, I see, okay, this is what she felt, so I know it was my intention and I know I didn't want to do it. But that's how she felt. And then to go along with that, to understand this is how she feels, and then to think, okay, what can I do now? And I'm really happy actually that I had this occasion that I totally blasted that person. There's not many times I blast somebody, maybe 2-3 times. And I remember these times, and because I did it, and I know how bad I feel afterwards, and how I feel my anger, and I feel how the other person, I want the other person to feel hurt now, you know, not in the head. It's more kind of a feeling in the heart. So then now I'm much more cautious, I think, you know, and think, okay, you know, this is, I also misunderstand other people sometimes, and so other people can misunderstand me. And also to give permission to people to criticize me. It's okay, you know, and it's a very good way actually to protect yourself from being hurt is when you invite criticism. You know, as Mor was saying, I'm calling Mor now, as Israel was saying, but because Mor is also a name, isn't it? We have people who are called Mor. As Israel was saying, is like somebody that I can say how I feel about them also. But wow, this is, I tell you, this is so tricky, you know, and it's so difficult sometimes. So if you invite criticism, then because you want to grow and you want to know how other people see you, but it doesn't mean you have to tiptoe around people, you know, and do everything that they want you to do, because we can't. We all know this, and we can observe it with ourselves also. The very same person, especially if it's somebody that you're so-called in love with or you partner, you know, when he does this, it gets on your nerves. He does the opposite, it also gets on your nerves. So then we start to see that it can't be the partner, it's my attitude, you know. And sometimes even people trying to be friendly to me or trying to make me like them, whatever, it's, you know, makes me even more not liking them. So, but inviting criticism, but you need to be quite strong when you do that. It's not easy to hear people criticizing you. Or is it? What do you think? The Israelis are much stronger. There's 2 Swiss people on the program here, me and Garo. So Swiss people are not very good at hearing criticism. And we don't criticize other people. It's considered in Switzerland, I don't know in the French part, but definitely in the Swiss-German part, it's considered very bad taste to criticize somebody. So you see, we have Swiss, German, and Germany. So it's a cultural thing also, right? The Germans are very open and very direct and very clear, right? So for the Swiss people, the Germans, we speak the same language, we speak German. So for the Swiss people, the Germans are kind of, you know, not polite, okay? Now, the Swiss people, out of politeness, we don't tell somebody what we think of them because we don't want to hurt their feelings. And then the other people, the Germans, think that we are totally Vorstand, how to say, like wrong, you know, like not honest. Okay, so even if we speak the same language, the working together sometimes is very, very difficult because we have different cultural understanding of what it means to tell somebody what they should change or what is wrong with them. So there's this joke, you know, somebody asking a German asking a Swiss person, hey, listen, if you see that I'm making some mistakes or that I'm doing something wrong, you would tell me, would you? And so the Swiss says, yes, I would tell, but not you. I would tell somebody else. And this is what we also do sometimes. You know, we talk about the faults of somebody else to somebody else instead of to the person, but it is tricky. And to finish, and then I'll let you talk. But in like amongst monks and nuns, there is one rule that is not really kept, but it's a really good rule. It's one of the very minor vows. It's a very good rule that you kind of, when you have to criticize somebody, you ask them first, you say, oh, would you like to hear what I think, what I see what I have seen, or what I suspect? If the person says no, you shut up. You don't say. Maybe they will come a little bit later and say, now you can tell me, or never. So, you know, you ask. So, unfortunately, it's not being practiced, but I think this is a really good thing. Because also it says, would you like to hear what I think, what I've seen? And then the third one, that's the good one, what I suspect. Because when you say what I suspect, You give the other person the possibility to explain because you're only suspecting. So you reaffirm to yourself already, my view about this whole thing might be wrong. So you give the other person the opportunity to explain, which we usually don't when we criticize, you know, we don't want to hear the other person's opinion. Okay, now your turn. Oh, you have nothing to say anymore.
May I say something?
For sure.
I think it's not black and white.
It's not. Nothing is black and white.
Because it's really...
Dina, please don't take it as black and white. Try to hear what I'm saying, you know. I hope I'm not presenting it as black and white.
No, I don't think. I think sometimes we take it as black and white. I think it's really depend on the kind of relationship you have with the person, about the situation, but it always be nice, really. It's like what you said now to us. Would you really like to hear my opinion? Would you care about what I think? That's really a nice way to approach things without being the other person become resentment. But I would like to share something. Okay. A while ago, I got to see like a coacher, and once in a while, and once she gave me an exercise, she told me that I should go to people like my husband and my people at my work and just ask them to tell me, but genuinely, what they like about me and what they don't like. First of all, it took me a long time until I dared to do it, okay?
Yeah.
But when I went there, I said, please tell me everything. I'm not going to object. I'm just going to listen and write it down. And I was amazed. People were very open and they were willing. They told me a lot of good things. And they told me also the things that they have difficulties, you know, with me about these things or what they don't like. And then I had less and less fear, and I went to more people, even to my husband, because many times he gets angry at me. But again, I was amazed how many good things he thinks about me. But he told me, like in Hebrew, you say "at choferet," you mean sometimes you say too many things, and I don't have patience for this. And but I was amazed, and also what I didn't do it with my children yet. I should do it. Probably I'm very afraid to do it, but I have to do it. But it made me really pay attention. Oh, first of all, I was happy that they have good things to say about me, but it also made me think about the things they say, and I try to watch my behavior, you know, when I act, and to take into consideration this situation also with other people, not only with the person who told me.
Exactly.
So I think it's a very good exercise to do.
It's very good. It's perfect. As you say, you know, it's not just the negative things, also the good things. Yeah, it's, you see, the thing is, when we see the qualities of somebody, we're happy unless we dislike the person, okay? So it's like, it's a happy mind seeing the qualities of somebody that we respect. This is why we have to train that everybody becomes a friend, right? When we criticize somebody, it's an unhappy mind in a way. Yeah, so this is why it's good to also concentrate on seeing the qualities of somebody. If we want everybody to become a friend, meaning our friend, not so that we get something from them, but we have spontaneous friendly feelings towards them, and then we need to concentrate on their positive sides also. And then you will see, the more you start to bring out the positive sides in others, or to see them, it makes you happy. It really makes you happy, unless you're, you know, it can also make you jealous. This is true, but that's not the point.
Once an old woman told me, if you only see the bad things in your friends, you'll never have any friend.
Yeah, that's true. But this is spontaneously what we usually say, and it's okay to say, you know, sometimes to give compliments to your friends, very short ones and very quickly, or to strangers in the bus, or, you know, something like that. It makes you happy. It really makes you happy. So, and it makes, we also happy when somebody says, oh, you're so kind, or whatever. Like yesterday in the bus, somebody had bought some, You know, the bus here, even at 7 o'clock in the morning, is only 3 people on the bus. It's quite amazing. People talk to the driver knows you after 2 or 3 rides that you did, and they're very friendly and saying hello, and it's very personal. So somebody had dropped a bag of roasted chestnuts and she didn't notice. So I went and I kind of, you know, wanted to give it to her, but it was a paper bag and it was not closed. So the chestnuts went kind of all over the place. And so I said, oh, I'm really sorry. I should have left it. You know, yesterday we talked about you want to help and you actually make it worse. So so I said, oh, really sorry. I should have left it, or, you know, just told you or whatever. And she said, no, but you did it. You didn't. You had a very good intention. So immediately with this small thing, you know, somebody could have gotten angry at me and say, hey, why are you putting my chestnuts on the ground or whatever? But with this very short interaction, I didn't know her yet. She didn't know me. We will get to know each other very quickly because there's so few people living here. But there was a short moment of really friendly connection. Me wanting to help, but totally goofing it up. And she's seeing that, you know, she just not getting upset or whatever. And both of us, we started collecting the chestnuts, and it was for her mom anyway. And she said, well, you know, the main thing is that my mom gets her chestnuts. So Caro might know what I'm talking about, because here in this area, at this time of the year, when the picking of the grapes is finished, they do what is called, how they call it, la brisolette or quelque chose comme ça. Comment ça s'appelle?
La brisolée.
La brisolée. Okay, so people get together and they eat roasted chestnuts, cheese, grapes, and they drink the freshly pressed grapes. And it's a cultural thing. I didn't know. And it's very important, especially for old people, that they do this, you know. Tu veux dire quelque chose, Caro?
Oui, c'est très valaisan. It's in that part where you live.
It's in that
where
part.
we live now.
Exactly, yeah. It's that part of Switzerland they do this. I was not aware of it. It's a very nice custom. But there we go. So you know, sometimes you want to help, but then it doesn't come out, and it doesn't come out well. And this is maybe what Netta is saying also. Then how do we react? You know, we want to help, doesn't come out well. We get accused that we made it worse or something like that. How do we deal with it? By understanding, I only wanted to help, but the person doesn't understand. Okay, so who is an enemy? Who is somebody that we dislike? Because we need to bring some, you know, with equanimity, we need to bring some kind of evenness into there. Who would you call in worldly terms more? You know, who do you dislike? When somebody?
Someone that wants intentionally to harm me, to harm.
Okay. Oh, very good. Thank you, Einat. Intentionally to harm me. Okay, now this is for everybody to think about this. Have you ever harmed somebody?
Many times.
Yes. While you were harming that person, did you do this intentionally to harm them, or did you only notice afterwards that you harmed them? Did you plan to harm them?
No, don't think so.
No, but we assume that everybody who is harming us does so intentionally. We assume that they have control over their anger. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We assume that they have a choice whether they want to say these unpleasant things or not say them. Do we have a choice?
We are the same.
We are exactly the same.
We are the same.
When we start to understand this, then that these people, they cannot do, they don't have control. They are pushed by their negative emotions, which make them lose control. They're accusing me or hurting me or doing whatever. Then we get less hurt and we get less angry at them when we see that we're doing the same thing. We all suffer because of our anger. Yeah. We think, you know, even these aggressive groups now in France, these teenagers, when we look at them, because they seem to enjoy their anger, but if we could give them something more wholesome and less aggressive, I think, to be happy and to find pleasure in, they would take it. But it's just because of the conditions that people grow up and what we label as good and interesting or whatever, that they become like this. Yeah. So there was a few good things in it, Einat, what you just said. Somebody who intentionally harms me. Okay, so the me is there. What else also? Go ahead.
I can take an example of myself. Yesterday, Edward and I, we were talking about do we hate anyone? So I said, I don't think I hate anyone in the world. I don't know what is this hate feeling. Mm-hmm. But there is only one person that was a good friend of mine, and I cut completely relationship with her. And we talked about it and why did it happen. And I think now, even when I meet her now in the street, I say hello, but we will never become friends again, I think. I don't know, but that's what I feel now.
Yeah, if you're holding on to this attitude, then she will not become a friend anymore.
Well, I don't think it would be a great loss.
Because we put friend on how she behaved, right? This is what I tried to explain before. Everybody can become my friend in Buddhist terms or in spiritual terms when I have friendly feelings towards her. And how can you find out is whether you have friendly feelings or not is when somebody comes and says, oh, I saw such and such. Wow, she's so happy and she's so well. And you at the same time, you feel happy because she's happy. That means she is your friend.
So
that can happen when we work at it. People don't have to change. Yesterday, I talked about my mom, before Buddhism, if somebody would have said, you can have friendly feelings towards your mother, I would have said, no way, no possible. But then because of all these kind of teachings, arguments, the kindness of the mother, and so on, and so on, and so on, and me also seeing that I was suffering because of the aversion towards my mother, because like it or not, my mother is the most important person in my life because she gave me this body. Of course, also some of it comes from the dad, that's true. But it's the mom who is carrying the child and is giving birth, it's not the dad. Okay? So then, before she died, I actually succeeded to have friendly feelings towards her. And for me, this was a great success. And it was a relief for me. Yeah? She didn't change her behavior at all. She didn't have to. This is it. This is what this is what Israel is saying also. It's like a friend should not have to change their behavior so that we have friendly feelings towards them. But again, it's not black and white. Doesn't mean, having friendly feelings, if the person is really dangerous and hurts you again and again and again and again, you protect yourself. You're not seeing that person at the moment. And also, why we get hurt, because it's attached love. This is why we get hurt. Yeah, attached love has a lot of expectations. If it is just love, then it doesn't want to possess. We're just happy when the other person is happy, and that's it. And we don't need to be with just pure love. We don't need to be the one who makes the person happy. With attached love, you're not so happy when somebody else makes the person happy. But when we look at the love of parents, now there's quite a lot of workshops about the power of love, the power of compassion. I think there's one with Thupten Jinpa that is coming up, and people like Mathieu Ricard, His Holiness, and all this. I will continue on YouTube. Yeah, okay, thank you, Caro. Are you coming to the center on Wednesday? because if you want, you can bring the dog, because we're doing animal liberation.
Yeah, I will try.
Yeah, and bring the dog, because then we can do circumambulations with the dog around the holy object.
Okay.
The mantra.
Thank you.
I guess
Bye-bye.
the cat is not possible, because she would be too.
No,
he would
the
be
cat will stay home.
What are you doing with animals? What are you doing?
We are liberating 1,000 worms that are not having to go on a fishing rod on a hook, and we put them in the ground because it's Lababduchen, it's a very powerful day. So people can bring their pets, their animals also, and then we make like an altar with holy objects, with relics and statues and texts, and then we take them and we do circumambulations with them, because they themselves, they cannot create positive karma on their body, because they don't have the mind to understand. So we do it for them. So when they die, hopefully they have a precious human rebirth next time. You know, again, I know it's quite strange. And yeah, Mary is doing also on the 27th, exactly, because it's a very powerful day. And we do this, you know, then we dedicate all the positive energy from doing this, from liberating these animals from surely dying on a hook, which is very unpleasant. We dedicate it to sick people, people who have died, to have good rebirths, to projects, to whatever. You see, whether this really works and it helps the animals or not, I have no idea, but it's a really nice thing to do. And kids also, they love it. So when, like in Bern, I asked the kids in the house, not the ritual. The kids don't like the ritual because it takes about an hour. We recite mantras and we blow it on the animals' bodies. But I asked the kids to dig the holes. They all came. And they dug the holes in the ground, and then, you know, you have the boxes with the worms, and you put them on the ground, and you wish them all well, and they don't have to die in a terrible way, and all this. The children participated really nicely in this. It's a nice thing to do with animals, with children, because then they also learn to respect creatures that we usually don't respect, because you create the connection, because they make the whole. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. So I was just telling Cajo she can come with the dog if she wants. Okay, so.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Is it okay, or we can do it later?
No, it's okay.
I'm since yesterday, I have something that happened in the last 2 weeks, not to me, but to someone I know.
Mm-hmm.
That her mother was brutally murdered by her husband.
Okay,
this woman had 6 children from first marriage, and I happen to know one of her daughters. And from this husband, she had a son who is 14 years old, and he really murdered her in a very, very brutal way. Now he is in prison, and I keep thinking about them. And I can see I have a lot of, mercy and Bodhichtta, and I pray about the mother, that her soul, will rest in peace. But I can't find, and I thinking about them also. How can they find the, Bodhichtta for the person who murdered their mother, or how can I have any Bodhichtta?
Tina, this is too big for people who have never heard about Bodhichtta. This is why you train while not such big things are happening. Then when big things happen, then it works. This is why the Tibetans, yesterday when somebody told the story about the monk, he was, the only thing that he was afraid of in prison was that he would lose compassion or Bodhichtta for his torturers. That's somebody with a trained mind. But people who are not trained, it's like, it's good that they concentrate on their own suffering to heal that one first. And it's so difficult. It's a bit like also Hila was saying, it's so difficult to love your mom when she was so unpleasant to you. And it's hard work. It's really hard work. And you need to be able to do the work. Yeah. So forgiving somebody like this who has murdered your mom is like, but you can pray. You can pray for the person who has the son who is in prison, just to understand. Again, we think he's done it on purpose. Yes, on one hand, he's done it on purpose. But can you kind of see a mind that is so confused that he or she kills her own mother? I mean, it's, as Shantideva says, what's the point of meeting these people with anger? They need compassion. They don't need anger because they're so confused. But this is very, very high thinking. Yeah, so
I can see this. I thought about it a lot. That probably was in a, some crazy mind at the moment he did it. But then afterwards, he did a lot of bad things during the 3 days afterwards. So it's hard for me to see how confused he was for so many days, and how he didn't think about his son, I can understand that maybe people, okay, I as you said yesterday, I really believe that people are good in nature. But some people, even if they are good in nature, they do horrible things.
Yes, definitely. So that's why we separate the action from the person. People do negative actions out of confusion, out of a lot of self-cherishing, right? So
Yes.
you see, when somebody murders her mom, the self-cherishing of not wanting this mother in the space in front of them is so big that one forgets about the consequences. And it's only me, I don't want to have this mother. She should not be there. She should die. And probably, it was like he's been thinking not about murdering her, but how unpleasant she is or whatever for a long time. So, and then, the thoughts went into action, or sometimes it's just a moment of feeling really stressed and really, really frustrated. I tell you, I almost murdered somebody, which I'm glad I didn't, and I tell you all these stories. I wonder that you still listen to me. It was the day I gave up drinking, and I was working. I used to have a restaurant. So I was working, and the waitress hadn't come, and it was Sunday, and there was a lot of people, and I was in the kitchen cooking for customers who had ordered something, and I had to be in, out, this and that. And somebody came, friend of mine, came, and I was so frustrated, like no crutch of alcohol that would calm me down a bit, because I had a terrible headache, and the waitress hadn't come, and it was about to explode. And somebody came into the kitchen and asked me what the local football club, what they had played, like whether they won or whether they lost. I knew it, but I was so frustrated. I didn't want to tell him. So he knew that I knew, and he was kind of in the door like this. So he knew that I knew, and I just yelled at him and I said, I don't know. And he still asked, and I had the knife. And, in the kitchen, what you do, you throw knives into the door like this, and you see whether it sticks. You're quite good at it. And I kind of instinctively almost, I got hold of the knife. I didn't let it go, and he did close the door. But I was so frustrated, I could have left the knife flying towards him, and I could have hit him, who knows where. Okay. Now, because you're so confused in the beginning when you give up an addiction, I totally forgot about this. And also I thought it was not important at that time. He got on my nerves. He shouldn't have asked. I didn't have time. I could have just told him, they lost, and that would have been it. I didn't want to say it. I can see what anger can do, And so when I did Vajrasattva retreat, many, many years later, this whole scene came back. And I thought, my gosh, if I would have let go of the knife, if he wouldn't have closed the door, who knows what would have happened? Yeah. So if we don't know in what state he was. We don't know his intention. But if we start understanding like this, then it's easier to have compassion for these people. But compassion doesn't mean we let him out of prison, we let them run free and kill more people and like this. Compassion is a heart who wants them to be free from suffering of that confusion of having to go around and doing all these negative actions. You see what I mean?
Yes.
But it's difficult, it's really,
well, for
really
me, maybe it's easier because I'm not really part of the family, but for them, I cannot see how they can do it now. Maybe they have to work on themselves.
They don't have to do that now. They can, whatever you can do to assist them to feel well, that's what you should concentrate on.
Okay.
Be kind to them. Understand that they are angry. Don't even try to tell them that anger is no good and this and that. It's like maybe they will understand at one point. Or if they ask you, then of course you can give them some remedies. But to really, it's like, because otherwise you see, with anger, you continue to suffer.
It's true.
But it's so difficult. But you can, of course, you can let go. Why? Because you have the right distance,
Mm-hmm.
For the people, for the family, the problem is here. Or here, you want to hide it when you kind of gloss it over. So, but yeah, you can do practices. You can do prayers or animal liberation or mantras or whatever. And the merit that comes from it, you give to the family and to this person. This is what you can do,
Okay.
And then now we are going, if we come to it, oh, wow, yeah, probably have to go a bit faster here. This afternoon, we do Tonglen. We do like the meditation on Tonglen, giving and taking. And that's what you can do. This is so powerful. When we feel totally, at loss, I don't know what to do, and you start doing Tonglen, then that can maybe help or not, but at least you do something, And also, not even the Dalai Lama could take away that anger from these person. So we shouldn't be too arrogant and think we can really help. Again, when we see this situation, then we think, oh, I really have to become a Buddha, so I know what to do. We don't know what to do. And then we take a little bit of wisdom. When we go there with an open heart, maybe not with the heavy responsibility, I have to help them to feel better, just to be there, just to be present, just to be kind. That's good enough.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, you're very welcome. So after having seen that we are not equanimous, then we start to work on this. And the way you work on equanimity, again, you need to have arguments to give to your non-equanimous mind. This is a good person, this is a bad person. I like the good person, I like the bad person, I don't like the bad person. Now I'm doing really black and white, so that we see how our mind is doing it. We have to give arguments to this person, to our mind, who is making these three categories, right? The friend, the enemy, and the stranger. And what we do, what Einat was saying, we draw black lines around these three categories as if they are permanent. We cannot imagine, that we could have an open heart towards that person. We don't even want to have an open heart towards that person because we're going to keep them away, because anger keeps people away, okay? And then we say, oh, hey, but, it cannot be permanent, because at one point, this person I liked, now I dislike it. But at another point, there was this person that I disliked, and then now I like the person. And then, all the people I like or dislike, at one point, they were in the middle, they were strangers. So how can they be inherently, permanently real friends, real enemies, and real that? So that's one of the arguments we give to the mind. Another argument is we are all equal. This is such as, it's simple and it's so strong. When I look at somebody that gets on my nerves, and I look at them and I think, hey, she just wants to be happy, just like me. It's the same as for this son who murdered his mother. He wants to be happy. But that's definitely the wrong way to achieve happiness. Because he is unhappy. He does these negative things. If you're happy, then you're not murdering, you're not stealing, you're not kind of hurting other people. We know that with ourselves. Again, if we come back to ourselves, we see, when are we unconsiderate about others? When are we hurting other people? It's when we are unhappy. When we are happy, somebody can insult us. It doesn't really matter. Somebody can bump into us. It's okay. We make sure that they don't feel bad about it. Yeah. So this is, for me, this is the most powerful argument. We are all the same. We all want to be happy, and none of us wants to suffer. So why should the happiness of some be more important than the happiness of? And then to see when I dislike somebody, to see my own suffering. You know, when I dislike somebody, this person has so much power over me. They have the power to make me feel uncomfortable just by being present. Do I want to give this power to this other person? But the problem is with anger and detachment, these two mental states, they kind of manifest as if they are our friends. You know, like anger says, I protect you and I give you more energy. So then, I mean, it's not saying it in the head, but it feels a bit like this. Give you more energy and you become stronger, you're more courageous, which is true. Anger is a very, very, very strong, you know, it increases our energy. It's true, but it's too strong. And we lose contact with the cortex. We can't think anymore. We definitely don't see long term. We only see short term. And it destroys our peace of mind. It makes the mind very agitated and doesn't, yeah, it cuts the contact with the cortex, right? So, but we think we need it in order to survive. Again, some emotions we do need to survive. This is true. Yeah. But I'm talking about this anger that keeps going, you know, even though the situation is long finished. We need anger to be able to react. You know, what's a good reaction now? Do I run away or do I, you know, fight? Do I protect myself? What shall I do? Yeah, this is what we need it for. But then we keep going with the anger and we keep holding on to it. It seems as if in a kind of perverse way, we are enjoying our anger. Makes us feel somebody, you know, makes us feel important. So we don't even see, we want to be happy, we want to be peaceful. With desire, attachment, anger, hatred, when anger becomes very strong, even aversion, these mental states by themselves that we try to use in order to attain happiness, by themselves, they destroy our peace of mind. So that's what we need to see with awareness. This is why we do awareness meditation. And this is why I always tell you, go from the head to the heart. Experience what you're feeling. Not just up in the head. Really feel what's going on when you are angry. And so the best antidote for anger actually is when you have already created some kind of awareness and you feel the energy rising, you go like, oh, there's anger. Not I'm angry, but oh, there's anger in the mind. And you let go of the object and you come inside and you experience your anger and you start to analyze it. Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it pushing? Is it pulling? Is it heavy? If it's heavy, how many kilos? Is it, you know, all these kind of analytical things. And because the anger has no more fuel, you see, you went from the angry mind who looks at the object in order to keep up the anger. This is like pouring kind of oil onto a fire. So you took the mind away and you went into your neutral observing mind. So then the anger, just whether you want to or not, it fizzles out, it dies down. Then you look at the person again, it comes back up. Yeah. Anger and attachment, they need an object in order to be there. They need a thought, an object. Otherwise, you know, if I tell you now, okay, get angry, nothing happens. Yeah. If I tell you now, be friendly, something happens in your heart. You don't need an object to be friendly. If it's attached love, you need an object. If I just say, you know, connect with your loving heart, something happens. Because that's our nature. Love, compassion, they don't really need an object. For us, maybe, yes, but like for a Buddha, no, there's this non-objective compassion that we try to develop. Okay, also with desire, you know, when desire is, I need something that I don't have, so it destroys again. Gratitude, contentment, gone. Attachment, the fear of loss, and a lot of expectations when we have it. Okay, so we try to even that out. We try to first to see it. I have attachment for my friends. I'm holding them too close. I have aversion towards other people. They're too far away. And we try to generate love and compassion for all of them. Because we say, yeah, everybody deserves to be happy, you know. And something that will help us to do that is the next point also, is seeing the disadvantage of cherishing self. So I need your help here now. Again, you can either put it in the chat or you can say, what are the disadvantages of being egoistic? None? You're like kids. When I ask children that, you know, because then I asked about the advantage of being egoistic. We can start with this if you want. What's the advantage of self-cherishing? Thinking about yourself, thinking about your own happiness. What's the advantage?
Taking care of yourself. And it was something interesting that I observed is that many people went abroad lately when it was like half okay, or it was difficult, and I was jealous.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And I couldn't rejoice that much. Well, it was mixed also, the rejoicing. And then I said, okay, I'm going. It was like from one day to another, and I went to Sinai. And then while we were swimming with the fish, my husband told me, if you weren't jealous, we weren't here.
Right, okay.
It was true.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Here is an advantage of
so there you can see, you know, sometimes also the Dharma is like, because we only talk about the disadvantage of self-cherishing, but it's good to think about the advantage of cherishing self and then also the disadvantage of cherishing others. We have to be very realistic there, because as with everything in samsara, it's dualistic, so it has both sides. But in general, you know, very often the disadvantage of cherishing self kind of overweighs the advantage of cherishing self. And I think the older we get, the more we see. The younger children are, when I ask them about, you know, what the advantage of cherishing others, they don't find anything, because they say, well, we never get anything. People think you're stupid and you're weak, and you know, blah, blah. So this is also, it's a matter of at what stage you are in your life, or how, you know, what views you have that you have learned. Okay. Well, we go back to the disadvantages of cherishing self.
I just want to say something about what Liat, איך קוראים לך?
Neta.
About what Neta, thank you, about what Neta said, is that in Hebrew there is a saying, I don't know to say it in English, קנאת סופרים תרבה חוכמה. It means that sometimes when you're jealous, it make you action to make good things. Like when you fear, it makes you being careful. I mean, it's not always bad to be.
you're totally right. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Don't throw all your emotions out yet. At the end, maybe yes. But now, when you're Buddha, you don't have any more emotions. But at the moment, we still need them. But also try to see, okay, with jealousy, we could attain something that otherwise, if we wouldn't be jealous, we couldn't attain. But then try to see the other side of it. How many times jealousy is destroying my peace of mind? Yeah. So if you have a jealous mind, if you have a competitive mind, try to make it bigger, like for the benefit of many to attain whatever you want to attain, not just for the benefit of you. Like, for example, now the skiing season starts, like this in Switzerland, like the competition, right? So if you are one of these runners, you could think, wow, if I win, I make many Swiss people happy, or whatever country you're from. Then already the goal to have a gold medal is a little bit bigger than just, I want to have that gold medal. You see what I mean? So if we can use because I have a tendency not to finish my sentences. I think too fast, I think. So it's like, because we have a tendency to, to want to be good, and then we become famous and all this. But we can expand it so other people can also rejoice about this thing. Then if you're not having the first prize, then you can think, okay, now the other nation is happy, and then you can also be happy about this. But then, of course, all these competitions would become very boring, because people would not give their best anymore, ruin their bodies, by the way, these sports people, risking their life. Kaho is not here anymore because her son is kind of doing these downhill races with a skateboard. But yeah, so again, these, the emotions, they're just energy. So we can use it to attain something for the good of all, or at least many at the moment, or just for me. And when it's just for me, and instinctively, very often it's just for me, then it becomes self-cherishing. You see what I mean? And then the problem is, long term, the karma that you are creating becomes negative. In a way, it leads to suffering. And we can see, a son, again, we come back to this really, really difficult situation. A son who murders his mother, he definitely doesn't think about the kindness of the mother. He only thinks about himself. If somebody steals my things, they don't care about me. He only steals because I want these things, not because he wants to make me suffer or whatever. Maybe also people steal because of that, but most of the time they don't care. Yeah. And a very big example, which is drastic, and I'm really sorry if we have somebody listening here that it has happened to you. You shouldn't hear what I'm saying, but I'm saying it anyway. If a man rapes a woman, it's not out of anger, actually. It's just because his desire is so strong that he doesn't see a person in front of him anymore. When this son, I think, murdered that woman, he didn't see his mother in front of him. He saw a woman that is getting on his nerves and that she has to get out of it. So maybe he saw, the label mother, but definitely not the meaning mother behind it. So this is what these very strong self-cherishing emotions are doing. The stronger the emotion, the more self-cherishing is there. And this is another thing you just have to observe, Behind every what is called unhelpful emotion lies self-cherishing. I don't want, or I want. And totally one-sided, not like for the good or benefit of many, just for me, or I. And all our unhelpful actions behind it is self-cherishing. Every conflict that escalates is self-cherishing, not seeing the other person as equal. What do you think? You can voice your opinion, or you can say, yeah, that's the way it is. You know, not like the conflicts, not being able to let go of my view. As Ras was saying before, we love to kind of surround ourselves with people who have the same opinion or the same way, but gosh, it's so boring because we're not learning anything and we keep being stuck in the same opinions. Yeah. So then our ego gets challenged when somebody has another opinion, and we are challenged to open up and to let go of that view of, my opinion is right, the other opinion is not right, and to see only the difference. To see that, yeah, okay, that other person also has an opinion. So it is different, not necessarily mine is right and his or hers is wrong. It's just different, and then just to let it be as long as it's not harm.
Yeah, I took it as a practice. I took it as a practicing, and it's so difficult. I tell you, it is very difficult. Yes.
Yeah, I know. But you see, when we take it as a practice, it doesn't matter that it's difficult, because we chose to do it. When we are forced to do it, then it becomes very difficult. Yeah. So who was it? You know, stepping back and letting others go first. I think it was Sigar Kongtrul Rinpoche. I don't know if any of you know him. He's a Tibetan Lama who for many, many, many years suffered heavily from depression. You know, if you think all the Tibetans are happy and blah, 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 and Bodhichtta and all this, so not like this, but he's a beautiful teacher. He has become a really beautiful being, and he wrote a few books and he gave teachings in Bodh. So when he said, when you choose to be the friar, being number 2, it's very easy. When you are forced to be the friar, then that's very hurtful and it's very difficult. So, you know, you don't have to fight not to be the friar. You only have to choose to be the friar and to take this as a practice to become the happy friar. It's not easy. It hurts. You know, most of these things, like going against our root problem, which is the self-cherishing, it really hurts. I mean, it really hurts. And this is why you need to have courage for bodhicitta. You know, it's not for people who are very fickle and all this. Yeah. And this is why I always start with these first steps. You look after yourself. You make sure that you have a happy life. Then you start to kind of put others in front of you. Only then. We need to make these steps. Otherwise, like Geshe Tashi says, we get our feet wet. If we don't have the stepping stones, we're constantly walking around with wet feet, and that's not healthy. Yeah. Okay. Another, you know, again, when self-cherishing is kind of, you really understand how much it makes people suffer when you look at the child who is only capable of thinking about himself, who only wants, never happy, never satisfied. Do you know children like this? Or people, you know? Do you think these people are happy?
No.
Definitely not, okay? Because they can never be satisfied, because what they're trying to do, they're trying to fill that hole they have in them, which is what the self-cherishing is creating, or they are not able to take away the cloud that kind of covers their ability to connect with others. So the self-cherishing is the first time I'm saying this, but I think it's really good. The self-cherishing is like the cloud that doesn't allow us to properly, in a good way, connect with others as equals. His happiness is just as important as mine. So we all want to be happy. So what do we want from other people to make us happy? Or what is making us happy when we get it from other people? For example.
You're asking from the self-cherishing mind or generally?
From our intelligence, whatever, you know. What is making us happy? In what way do we want to be treated? by others, then we're happy that they treat us like this. Maybe I'm
probably
again not
being praised.
Yes, Tina?
Probably being praised when somebody tell you something good about yourself.
Okay, yeah, praising us, okay.
I think connection, understanding.
Understanding, exactly. Being seen, you know, not even, we don't
Yes,
even
being seen is very important.
being seen,
understood.
Being understood, being heard, being, you know, like being accepted, being respected, being left alone when we want to be left alone, kind of these kind of things. Okay, now think about the person who you would label an egoistic person. How easy or how difficult it is for us to appreciate their presence, to see them, to listen to them, to agree with them, to respect them. Is it difficult or is it easy?
It's not easy.
Not easy. So before we agreed, when we look at the child, we see that the child who is egoistic is suffering, okay? Because when we say he's not happy, means he's suffering. We understand this. Do we understand it in the same way? And do we have the same tolerance and the same acceptance for somebody that we label a grown-up egoistic person? Do we see the suffering of the egoist who every time gets what he wants, who is never the friar? Do we see the suffering? Ifat says yes.
It's much more difficult.
Yeah, Edouard says very difficult.
No,
I would say yes.
You know, we
yeah, Tomer?
What I wanted to say, sometimes the suffering is not happening right now. I mean, someone can be very egoistical and can be right now, you know, on a roll. They get everything. They have all the pleasurable thing they can get, but we can think, okay, we know where this is going. They're creating the negative karma, and sometimes they might have, I mean, they'll probably have the suffering sometimes in the future, and we can think about that and develop compassion in relation to that. Because what's happening right now might not be physical suffering, even mental suffering.
No, it's not physical suffering. But if you look at them, the way they speak, the way they behave, the way they are needy, you don't need to go into the future. Because, you know, they get something, whoop, then next thing. And very often they get it. And what do they say? They criticize what they just got. And they already think about the next thing. So we don't even have to go that far into the future. We can, you know, when we really observe them with an open heart, we see like, oh my gosh, you know, they will never get satisfaction. They're never content. Their contentment is so short. And then we see how difficult it is for me to be kind to them, to give them every time what they want, which I'm not saying, you know, that you should do it. But if we know that it would help, we should be able to do it. Because in general, we go like, you know, we withhold. We don't want to give them what they actually want. Because what they want is respect, and what they want, not, you know, not in the head, but like, you know, emotion, on the level of emotion wise. But as Edouard says, it's very difficult for us to give them respect, to listen to them. You know, they get, every time they get what they want, every time they complain about something, you know, and we get our own self-cherishing is coming up, our own ego is coming out, saying, shut up, you always get what you want. What are you complaining about? There is no understanding that this person is trying to feed something that does not exist, the ego. That's why it doesn't work. And I did that with a 6-year-old child at one point, who I decided, I had to look after him, and I decided, okay, I just let him do whatever he wants to do, as long as it's not dangerous, because I only have to look after him one day. I keep myself out of trouble here. So I did whatever he wanted to do with him. I played with him. I cooked what he wanted to eat and all this. And in the evening, he was very discontent. And he was going about something. So I really, because I'm not his mom, so I can talk to him like that. I said, Sam, you know, today we did all the things you wanted to do. Is that true? He said, yeah, that's true. So I said, are you happy? And he looked at me like this. He said, no. So I said, how about tomorrow we change it around and you try to do something for somebody else? So the next day, when it was before lunch, he came into the kitchen and he asked his mom, can I lay the table? Like kind of put the plates on the table. The mother was utterly shocked. And she looked at me and she said, what did you do to him? It's kind of, you know, it's like, how did you do that? So just giving him another perspective, you know, if you can't find, by getting what you want, if you can't find happiness and contentment, maybe you can find it through this. So of course, you know, that doesn't work very long. He doesn't do things for others for a long time, but still, you know, it's also good to see for ourselves when we're not happy, to think, okay, to really go very deep. Why are you not happy? Then, you know, the ego comes up and says, because I don't have this and I don't have that, I don't have this, la, 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 la. And then maybe you can give the ego another alternative. And you say, okay, that's what you think. How about, because maybe you don't know how to love properly. You don't know how to love yourself properly. You're constantly criticizing yourself and others. You're not content with yourself. You always want to be this, a little bit like this. You can talk to your ego the way you talk to your child. You can try it out. Okay. So the disadvantage of cherishing self, it makes us kind of uneasy and closed, and, you know, perspective very small. I, me. Makes us unhappy already now, and on top of it, it creates a lot of suffering for others, but it is our habit. That's it, you know, from maybe what Edouard was saying, from ancient times when we had to fight for survival. Yeah, so that's still there, me first and then the other. So in order to kind of make it to decrease a little bit, we think about the kindness of others, what we receive, what they do for us and all this. So now is lunchtime in 2 minutes. So when you look at your plate, you try to think about all the people who made it possible that you can eat what you are eating, and you say thank you. Then you check what's happening, okay? Then the next point is the advantage of cherishing others. Then we start to think about this, you know, what's the disadvantage of cherishing others? What would be the advantage? We talk about this in the afternoon. And then when we see that, maybe it's quite good to cherish others, like as the Dalai Lama says, you want to be selfish, cherish others, because you will be happy. Yeah. But again, you know, it sounds so easy, but it's definitely not easy. So we start to consciously kind of cherishing others with those that we find it easy to cherish them. And then we equalize ourselves with others. Another very good argument is, you know, when we have this, I need to have this good seat on the aeroplane or on the bus, and you ask yourself, why? What makes you so special? You ask your ego, give me one reason why it is more important for you to have this seat than for somebody else. One reason. Challenge your kind of ego like this. Ask, you know, when the instincts come, I need a good seat. Why? Why is your good seat more important than somebody else's good seat? Why is your happiness more important than somebody else's happiness? And wait for the ego to come up with some good reason. And then so we equalize ourselves with others, but because very often there's not enough good seats for everybody, so then we exchange ourselves with others and we start to give away things that we find easy to give away. Like, for example, for many years, my practice was I would wait at the bus and at the train until everybody had gone in, and then I would get in. And it's gone so far, and I do it very spontaneously now, that I get upset when somebody wants to let me go in first. You know, it can just become a habit, because fighting being the first is a habit. You can undo that habit by kind of training to be the last. And then it's same. Yeah. Then it's just the way you act. And it becomes, and very often, you know, when I stand there in Switzerland anyway, because now I'm old, but very often when I stand there and I just wait very patiently, even in Israel, other people let me go first, which is not so a usual thing to do, isn't it? Especially because the trains and the buses are very full. So now, if you have to take this bus, and if you're waiting until everybody is in and then the bus is too full, of course, you're not doing that practice. You know, I'm just talking about when it's possible to do that. You still get on the train or on the bus. You wait until everybody else is in. And it's interesting to see how difficult that is. Even that is difficult for us, you know. So then we can think how difficult it will be at the moment to give up your body and to give up your happiness and these kind of things. So we start small, okay? And the way we train, and this we do in the afternoon, is through meditation, Tonglen, taking what is unpleasant and giving away what is pleasant. So also, I think it was in Israel, I was talking about this one evening. It was an evening talk. So in the evening talk, in a city, you know, many new people come who've never heard about Buddhism. So I was saying, you know, you give away everything that you find good and pleasant, and you take everything that usually we don't want to have. So one young person, quite angrily, she came and she said, what are you saying? This is nonsense, because how can that make me happy if I give away the good things and I take the bad things? And then I said, yeah, well, what are you doing now? So she said, well, I try to keep the good things and I try to protect myself from the bad things. And I said, so are you happy? Are you succeeding? And she says, no. So I said, well, then why not change something new? And then you see what will happen. Yeah. So you see, when we do Tonglen, when we take the suffering of others, we already assume that we will be very unhappy. And when we give away, when we breathe out all the good things that we have, we assume that we will be very unhappy. But try it out, see what happens. But we'll do the meditation in the afternoon. And definitely these step-by-step meditations we'll do in 2 weeks. You know, we do this, what we did now, reflection-wise, so that maybe you are more in contact with your, you know, how the mind reacts to these arguments. And then with awareness, we're just watching.
Just one question. You say to share. Why don't you say to appreciate or to value? Is that a point here?
What do you mean? I don't understand.
You choose this word. You have to make yourself value somebody else or to treasure him, but you use another word, right?
Cherish.
Cherish.
Cherish. Cherish it means like we want them to be happy. That's the word cherishing. It's not a very good word. So it's like pray. What do you mean pray?
What?
Pray. It's Elisheva is saying pray. What do you mean by pray?
I don't understand why you use cherish, but I'm not sure.
Cherish means your value. It means valuing. It's the same. It's
valuing, yes.
Another word. I use the word cherishing because that's in the text. That's why.
Okay, but you mean that valuing. Okay.
You know, I think, and cherishing it, self-value is a good thing. Self-cherishing, already we understand it's not so good because it goes into being an egoist. Yes. But value myself, this is a very good thing. So maybe this is why they use the word cherish. You know, self-cherishing means I hold the word itself, when you study and when you get used to the words, the definition, already what we understand behind the word, I value myself over the others.
overestimating, you mean? Yes.
I like self-cherishing means I value myself over the others. Cherishing others means I value others over myself, which can be not healthy if you're not realized, if you don't see the benefit of it. Yeah. So again, this is why it's good to go slowly and carefully. Okay, so then, as I'm saying, it's lunchtime, so we meet again at 2:30, and we finish a little bit before 4, maybe 3:45, and enjoy your lunch. But try to do this, you know, just thank you very much. Okay, so try to do this before you kind of put it in your body. One thing is that you think, these people who have made my food, they keep me alive, because without food I die. You know, not just pleasure. Don't think about pleasure. This is secondary, yeah? But to really think, I am alive thanks to these people who have done their job in the fields and in the transport and in the packing and in the preparing and whatever. Then when it comes to pleasure and taste, it's like salt, it's like, you know, spices and all this. These people are responsible for my pleasure. Without them, how can I have pleasure? Otherwise, your food becomes my food, my pleasure. No need to say thank you. Yeah. And then try to see how that changes. Edouard?
Yeah, the Japanese have a saying. They say itadakimasu before taking a meal, and it means I humbly receive. And the deeper way of looking at saying itadakimasu is exactly what you're saying, is to include in this humble receiving all the chain, the endless chain of that has made it possible for me to have this food on my plate.
Exactly. So that's the first step. Then the next step is, I want to do something for them. I want to repay that kindness. You see, that's why sometimes we feel so uneasy, because deep down we know how much we receive through the effort of others, how comfortable our life is, but we're not wanting, we don't even have to wish to give anything back, because we say, oh, I pay for it. It's not enough. So then the Bodhichtta thought, I want to become a Buddha so I can lead you to that state of bliss and wisdom and compassion and all. Yeah, nice. So thank you, Edouard. So enjoy your lunch. That's another duty that you have towards these beings who have made your lunch possible, that you enjoy it. Okay? And I'll see you again at 2:30. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.